Hello students, this is Miss Dalton and we're going to continue our talking about multiplying monomials and polynomials. Okay, so to review from Coach Holliday's video from the night before, when you are multiplying binomials, you have m minus 4 times m plus 6. These are both binomials because they have two terms apiece. If you want to use what we call the box method, that's where you look at it like you're finding the area of the rectangle. So we're going to take that first binomial and I'm going to write it on the left side. So I'm going to put my m here and I'm going to put my negative 4 down here. Make sure you put the sign with this number when you put it out on the side of your rectangle. And then on the top you'll put your other binomial, which is m plus 6. So when you're trying to find the area, then you would multiply the length times the width of this rectangle. So if I multiply that, that would be m times m, which is m squared. Then if you take this other rectangle over here, you're going to multiply the length, which is 6, and multiply it by the width, which is m. So then you have 6 times m. Notice I didn't put the plus there because it's just telling you that that's a positive 6. So 6 times m is 6m. And then on the bottom row, I'm going to take this length m and multiply it by negative 4. So we generally write that as negative 4 times m. And then on the last rectangle, we'll have a length of 6 with a width of negative 4. So that's going to be 6 times a negative 4, which is negative 24. So now what you want to do is you want to take all of the areas of these 4 rectangles and you want to just add them together. So you'll have m squared. And then notice when you have the 6m the 6m has a like term with the negative 4m. So 6m minus 4m gives you a positive 2m. Remember, when you collect like terms, you just add the coefficients out front and keep the variable the same. And then at the end, you'll have the minus 24. So this is the solution to the multiplication of two binomials. Okay, so that first example was just to review you what you did the day before. Now we're going to look at a binomial. So we have two terms here, 2x minus 1. Remember, terms are separated by a plus or a minus sign. And then the second polynomial is what we call a trinomial, because we have one term, two terms, three terms. When you have three terms, it's a trinomial. So in this particular example, I have a binomial, so that's going to go on my left side. And notice that when I drew the rectangle, I just made it 2 rows by 3 columns, because I'm going to have my binomial that's going to go on the left, 2x minus 1. My trinomial will go across the top, 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Okay, so now you're just going to multiply the area of each rectangle. Okay, so in this first square or rectangle, I'm going to take 2x squared, my length, and I'm going to multiply it by 2x squared. Well, I'm sorry, 2x. So remember, when you have 2x squared and you multiply it by 2x, remember your laws of exponents. We need to multiply these numbers out front. So 2 times 2 is 4. But then x squared times x is x to the third. Remember, you add your exponents, and this has an exponent of 1. Okay, now let's go to the second rectangle. Now we have the length of negative 3x times the width of positive 2x. So multiply the numbers, negative 3 times 2, negative 6. The variables, we're going to multiply the variables, which would be x squared. Then in this last rectangle we have 1 times 2x. So 1 times 2x, that is just 2x. Now let's do the bottom. This time we're going to have the length 2x squared multiplied by negative 1. So write it down if you have to. 2x squared times negative 1 is a negative 2x squared. In the next rectangle we have negative 3x times negative 1. So that's going to give you a positive 3x. And then last but not least, we have this last column, which is 1 times negative 1. So 1 times a negative 1 would be equal to negative 1. Okay, now let's look for any like terms. Now notice can you tell that I did the colors on purpose? These two terms, negative 6x squared and negative 2x squared, those are like terms, so we're going to add those together. The other two that match up is 3x and 2x. Those are like terms. So let's write down what we have. In our first rectangle, our monomial was 4x to the third power. In blue, we have negative 6x squared minus 2x squared. Now this you're just collecting like terms. Don't confuse this with multiplication. When you collect like terms, you're just taking the coefficient out front, the negative 2 and the negative 6, you're adding them together, that gives you negative 8, but you keep your variable and the exponent the same. When you are adding, you do not change the exponents. They have to be alike to keep, and you just keep them together. And then for the the x term, we have 2x plus 3x. So if I add those out, the coefficients, that's going to give me 5. And then just remember, keep your x the same. So when you're adding, again, you just add the coefficients. And then last but not least, I have this negative 1. So I'm going to put that on my end. Okay, so when you have a binomial times a trinomial, you're going to get a little bit bigger. You're going to get a big polynomial when you multiply that out. The key thing to look for is first you want to make your rectangle and you want to multiply each individual part. Then look for like terms. When you collect your like terms, you're only adding together the coefficients and you're keeping the terms the same. Okay, I hope that was helpful. We'll do more practice with this when you come to class tomorrow. Don't forget to fill out your WISC and make sure you have your notes completed.